Oh, hello, yeah. Well, I'm glad Wednesday's over and done with. I didn't think it was ever going to end Wednesday. It just went on and on and on and on and on. A bit like me in a lesson. Anyway, every once in a while, you do pick up these things in the right wing press that kind of go against, well, the other things they're telling you. Did have to smile at this in the Telegraph about, well, the horrors of knife crime and murders and everything else that definitely happen all the time in London because it's so dangerous. Yeah, I remember the last time I travelled through, I was lucky to come through without, without anything bad happening to me. Except I lost my bag, except that was me being an idiot, and it didn't happen there anyway. Anyway, leaving all that aside, we had this about an American family that moved to London, how lovely and lovely and lovely and lovely it was, yes, and is. Yes, compared to the USA, which, I don't know, maybe someone should tell various people in the USA that maybe certain people like being here. Certainly we are seeing quite a lot of people fleeing here from the nirvana that is Trump's America. But I guess that's just, well, a sort of counterfactual argument about things that are problematic. And talking about things that are problematic, there is that whole memory thing. You see, I am old enough to remember things, and it's always difficult being a person that remembers things. I keep going on about Winston Smith, but it definitely is that kind of thing. And I remember growing up as a kid that there were certain things that you just kind of expected because they were kind of nice. And when you went to work, if you wanted to, have a tea break, you'd go and have a tea break, wouldn't you? And it was set in motion by, there were laws around it, and, there were hours that you had to work before, there was a certain amount of time that you'd have off before you had to go back to work and all that kind of thing. And these were very much fought for and gained by our trade unions. And as the power of trade union went down, so all of those things went out the window. And now you tend to find yourself, well, I know I do as a teacher. You got it lucky, haven't you, mate? Pension, all that stuff, right? Yeah. I find myself basically very often being asked people just basically sometimes to work for effectively free. And I don't see why I should. If my work is valuable, you pay me for it. And we've lost all of those things like tea breaks because throughout the 1970s there was this general discourse about how dreadful and how evil and powerful the trade unions were and they needed to be done away with. Well, we've done that, okay? We've effectively done that to a very large extent, except from certain small pockets in the public sector. People like me, yeah? And the net result of that is that everyone is poor and immiserated. The two things are very, very, very closely correlated. Yeah, that's the way it works, yeah? You have weak trade unions in a sector, and suddenly everyone finds themselves poor. Well, not everyone, obviously. The important people aren't poor. No, good grief. The real players, the people that actually do everything, And we can see this very much with the kind of thing about the tube strike. We had this yesterday. Tube union targets Elizabeth line in latest threat. Yes, indeed. Those nefarious tube drivers are going to go out with hammers or something on the Elizabethan line. I don't know what by particularly it's that. Anyway, union bosses threaten to take sustained industrial action in response to alleged plans to close down ticket office, which is dreadful. Obviously, it's dreadful. Imagine as a trade union that you're going to defend workers' rights. I mean, what's the world coming to? But you may recall, recall thing again, and not that long ago, just a couple of years ago, the rail unions, not in tube, but the actual rail unions, were up in arms about this notion of, well, the railway companies just wanted to fire loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of people who would otherwise be checking tickets on trains or generally keeping people safe, or indeed being in ticket office. So, you could ask them, or indeed get out if you're in a wheelchair late at night. Those kind of things, yeah? And the public themselves were up in arms about this because it was patently a very bad idea, and it was patently simply about taking money away from people and providing a very, very, very much worse service. And they weren't having it, and they had to back down. But now we have, magically, the same arguments all over again about what a great idea it would be just to automate everything. And undoubtedly, we'd all feel so much safer with no one on the train, just us and that very nice but slightly aggressive-looking young man opposite us, very late at night. What could possibly go wrong? Yes. Still, the Telegraph was full of that, but didn't actually sort of mention the whole thing about, prior events or indeed public opinion. So we get this one, which is about the nefarious public sector workers such as myself and how evil and gittish we are. What true tube drivers don't want you to know about their pay. Yes, London Underground workers have rare and extremely generous type of pension, which is that usual thing which often gets thrown at me about the fact that I've got this brilliant pension, except I don't. Like most teachers in my position, don't have a pension, just got the standard one the government foists on us. That's evil, isn't it? Foisting stuff on us, but yes, they do. Because, the vast majority of teachers these days don't have those types of pension because it's been taken away from us, all right? That's it, yeah? The only places where those pensions still exist, and they are very generous, but why not? Okay, just going to put that one out there, is in those places that still have fairly strong trade unions. And if you actually read the Telegraph piece, you will actually see, number one, they don't actually state it, but actually it's not all TfL workers, is it? It's only some of them, because all of those people in those outsourced units, outsourced work, won't have that in the slightest. So realistically, you're just dealing with a small cadre of people. Still, it's too much. We can't afford it, whoever we are. Certainly, we never seem to include whoever is on strike, eh? But the thing is about that, of course, that there is a distinct correlation, like I've said, between, fairly generous pay and conditions and strong trade unions. Now, you might say to yourself, I don't really agree with trade unions. Okay, but I've always thought to myself, well, there's a bit of a nonsensical thing, isn't it? Yeah? You might think to yourself in that libertarian sense that we are all individual players in the economy, but it completely negates any notion of power relationships between people. I can go and see my boss and ask for a pay increase, and I can probably negotiate one with some of them in terms of what I might do. But a TfL cleaner can't do that. A TfL ticket office person can't do that. It's not the way it works. They have to basically belong to a trade union to be able to ensure that those things can happen. It's basically a sleight of hand. But simply, you can argue that trade unions are a bit wrong and a bit evil. It's fine. I'm going to suggest that if you are arguing that, you're either A, a bit slight in the head, or B, you're the sorts of person that can argue those individual things with your employer. Yeah, Julia Hartley Brewer and Mike from Talk TV can do that. They are the reasons why they keep the part of the reason why they keep arguing with us about how dreadful these strikes are. I don't know. Strikes are inconvenient. That's fine, but they're designed to be. Okay, you can if you want, take away the right to strike people, but let's face it, people that aren't allowed not to work are slaves. And trust me that if you do that, we'll be free of those trade unions. But by God, we won't be free of further punishing long-term declines in not just our pay, but our right to a tea break as well. All right? It's important. These things are important. You want to immiserate people, then make them as miserable as possible at work. And if you think that's going to save the economy, you really don't understand economics. Anyway, enough of that and moan today, isn't it? Hey, do have a lovely one. Do enjoy. Do Thursday. Take care.